So hello everyone, my name is Jester Ken Eguyena from DICT 11, and today I'm going to explain to you the program that is all about compute and display quotient and remainder of two numbers, find the greatest common divisor GCD of two numbers, check the two given integers, and return true if one of them is 30 or if their sum is 30, and exit if the user wants to exit the program or the menu. So let's get started. So first we're gonna include hashtag include iostream. So basically include iostream is a function that makes the user input and of course output. So next we have something what we call this include math.h. So include math.h is a process wherein it uses mathematical operators and of course to solve various problems. Next we have that something what we call this conio.h. Conio.h is useful function because it basically explains or it basically reads the function or the whole system when it comes to inputs and outputs. So we have next we have process.h. Process.h is the one that process your inputs and outputs. So next we have include local, which basically reads the dates and of course numbers or variables between your system program. So next we have include IO man IP, which basically reads the input and output that you inputted in the IO stream or your system program. So next we have what we call something as std. Sorry, I forgot the less than sign. Std live.h, which is basically important because that is a standard library that it is included in your file, in your program file, and of course to your input and output. So basically, overall of these includes are important in order for a certain program to work. So let's get started to our body. So first we have something what we call this using namespace std. So I include this thing here, a variable like this here, because it is basically the space between these lines. So it is needed in order for make your format standard and of course the space standard. Next we have something what we call this void. Void is basically used to make a certain program to return. Sometimes void can be changed into int, which means integers, or you can put it variables there. Next we have something what we call the cout. Cout is where your statement will comes in. For example, we're gonna put here \n press any key, key, or any button to continue, and then dot, and then end line. So what \n means is it makes your press any button to continue aligned, and your endl means end line. It makes the format correctly stable or in the line itself or in the proper line. So next we will put something what we called as _getch. It is basically like clear screen, wherein it makes your press any button to continue your line there having a proper spacing. So let's go to next one, which is what we call this void program 1. So here we're gonna enter our first question or our first program that is all about compute and display quotient and remainder of two numbers. So here we will put our um, code that will be run using this Visual Studio application. So in order for you to show, we will put some codes here. So let's get started. So first we will put int. So basically int is integers. So without int, of course, your variables will not work. So we will put dividend, divisor, quotient, um, remainder, and you will put semicolon. The importance of semicolon there is makes your statement or variable end, or uh, something what we call as terminate. It will terminate your program, or it will terminate your sentence. So next, cout. We all know that cout is about your words there. Backslash. Uh, T, please. Sorry. Please enter your dividend. Dividend and divisor. So we all know in mathematics that dividend and divisor is all about division. And in order to get the quotient, you will need to do some quotient related problems, or quotient of division related problems. So end line for spacing, and then dividend, sorry, dividend, and then semicolon. So next, we will put sin or cin in order for the cout to print there. So we will put dividend, semicolon, and then cout again for divisor. Divisor, and then there, semicolon. Next, we will put again sin in order for the divisor to print. So we will put divisor, semicolon. And here we will put our formula in order to get the answer in the question. Compute and display quotient and remainder of two numbers. So here in the next line, we will put the formula in order to get those two numbers, or to get those numbers. So quotient is equals to dividend, dividend divided by divisor, semicolon. And then next is remainder is equals to dividend divided by divisor. So in order for this to work, in order to show the real answer, of course you will put cout. You will print it too. So next is quotient. Let me align this first. Quotient is equals to, and then next is quotient. Next is backslash. Sorry, my keyboard is kinda bug. Remainder, and then equals, and then remainder, end line, and then semicolon to end it. Next, we will put the formula like this. And next, we will enter the second problem that our program needs to solve. So the second problem that we need to solve is all about find the greatest common divisor, or GCD, of two numbers using while loop. So it is important to know that it is also a mathematical operation, or mathematical problem that we need to solve. It is a logical problem too. So find the greatest common divisor that we have between the two numbers. So let's get started. So again, we will start with something what we call as void program. Let us rename the question all about program 2, and then uh, brackets, open and close parenthesis, and then brackets. So we will put int again for integer, and then here we will put n1 for number 1 or variable 1, and then next is n2 for variable 2, and then we will enter space cout, um, enter two numbers. Why we put this? So because here in cout we will print, or the user will enter, or the user, he or she will enter two numbers that will solve for these variables and in order to get those answers. So again, semicolon, and then you need to print it, sin, and then n1, and then n2, and then semicolon to terminate. Next, we will put something what we call this while. While is important here because in order for this code, in order for this function to work, you will need something what we call as loop. No, you will make your program go back again in order to make the user choose another question or answer again or another choices again. So while open and close parenthesis n1 and then exclamation point equals n2 and then bracket again enter and then here you will put if n1 is greater than n2 and then you will put again n1 therefore is negative equals n2 and then uh, semicolon. Next, since your uh, if while and if are okay, we will put else statement. So next is else, and then in else you will put n2 is negative equals n1. So that's the reverse version of if that we have. So next, um, since you enter those numbers, you will now go to the next line and we will print this answer. So cout and then ncf or something we know as um, the greatest common divisor that we have. So ncf and then equals and then here we'll put the end line. End line basically means you will align your spacing. So there. So the last question that we will have is something what we called as um, the two given integers and return true if one of them is 30 or if their sum is 30. So that is the third or one of the last or actually the last because the next thing is if you enter a different number it will terminate or it will exit your program. So we will enter something what we call as bool. Bool is basically how your program works alongside with letters. So we will put integer for some certain variables, int x, because x is a variable, and next is int y. And then we will put bracket here. So inside this parentheses, inside this bracket, we will put something what we call this return. Return x is double equal meaning true, and then 30 and then we will put a sign for absolute value and then again 30 y and then y true 30 and then x plus y is equals for true to 30. So what is this formula or what this variable or the sentence mean? It means that it will return or it will go back to the process if that thing is equals to 30. If that variable is true, then it is equals to 30 or 30 it is true when x is 2 and 30 is equals to y if that is true and y is true if it's 30. So that will happen if this x plus y satisfy the question or the variable. So x plus y is equals to 30 which means it's true. So it must be true. So we will enter another thing in order for our program work. So it is something what we call this int main. Int main basically makes your program work, and without this of course your program itself will be or would have uh, come some errors or it will create some errors regarding our system. So we have put char which or car which is which literally means a character Character choice, because we will put some letters here, and do, because it's a loop. We must make the program repeat itself. So enter, and then here we will put another bracket, enter again, and inside we will put cout, and here we will enter our variables that we've said earlier. So first we have main menu, and then dot end line cout a is equals to compute and display, sorry, quotient and remainder of two numbers, and then end line, and then cout again for another problem, and then b, the next problem that we have is find the greatest uh, common divisor of two numbers, and then end line. Next question, we have C, check two numbers or two integer numbers, two given integers, and return, or it will go back, return true if one of them is 30. So I basically memorize the question here, uh, 30, or if their sum is 32, and then I basically memorize the question so I can enter it basically on the code. And if your program or the user enters a different number, it will exit, or if he or she choose exit, or he or she doesn't like it, then it will terminate. Exactly, so it will be exit. And then here we will put sin in order to print it. Sin choice, sorry, then semicolon, switch. Switch is basically your program will switch or go back and forth. Choice, and then here we will put bracket, and then next thing that you need to know is after that, here we will put our codes that we've said earlier. So next is we will put case A, which is basically uh, our first question or our first logical question. So case A, and then here we will put something what we call the system CLS. So what this basically means by system CLS? System CLS meaning it's a clear screen. So it basically clears the screen, it cleans the screen, and of course, uh, it makes your system function better. So next is program 1, because it's basically connected here in the program that we've entered here, and then here we will enter the program itself. So in order for the system repeat or work or function as well. So next is message, in order for the program to work. Catch for screen more clearer. System, again CLS, uh, system CLS in order for your um, program to function as well, and break for lines. Next is something what we call the case B. Case B. And then system CLS. You will just copy this thing because this is basically how your program works as well. Oops, sorry, I run it. I've just entered. We will just basically don't run it. So we have some errors there because I clicked there. So we will just copy this thing and then we will paste it here. And then this thing we will change it to program 2. And then next, after that, we will put something what we call as case C. So that is the third problem that we have. And then we will just paste this. Oh, no, 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 no. We will just paste this and then remove this. Because our case C it's all about um, the bool test. So basically, uh, it's basically it's not just about your void program, but it's all about bool or about variables that we enter here, especially regarding on mathematical operator. So it's not just like case A and case B. So we will enter here's an integer or int, and then x, and then y, and then sum. We enter this because we need to solve a certain problem regarding on mathematical problem, which uh, is all about two given integers and return true if one of them is 30, or if their sum is 30. So we will put x, y, and sum, and then cout, enter, enter your first value, and then semicolon, to sim x cout, sorry, enter your second value, semicolon, and then sin y, semicolon, oh sorry, y, and then lastly is we will put our formula in order for this problem to solve uh, one by one. So sum is equals to x plus y, semicolon, and then here we will put our argument or our logical operator or the variable that will make your program return if that is 30 or not. So if x is true to 30, y is true to 30, and sum must be equal to 30, and then semicolon, bracket, sorry, and then cout, print 1. Next is after if we have else statement. Else, of course, cout is equals to 0. So basically, it will not return if the statement or the answer is false. So after that, we need to put message, semicolon, get, um, semicolon, system, cls, sorry, cls, semicolon, and then break for the lines. So here, but after these cases, we basically make this statement connected in our void program 3, which is not void program 3, but it's bool test. Because if we put void, it will not work or it will have some errors regarding in this case. Lastly is case 4. What do I mean by case 4 or case D is if the user entered the D, it will basically terminates your program. So let's put your screen and then exit. We will put exit here. My keyboard is kind of loud. Exit and then message, semicolon, get, semicolon, system, cls, and then break. So let us check now. Our program is now finished, Let us check what's the problem regarding on what we've make in our program. So let us check. Let's run our local Windows debugger. So there are some errors regarding on our program, and the first thing is here, the syntax error. So we basically uh, need to put a something what we call as while, because while is makes your program return again and makes your statement true or correct. So in order for your program to work, of course uh, you need some what we call something variable known as while choice. So let's just run again and let's see if there's an error pa. So I think there is an error. So there is an error here. So we basically put 4, which is uh, which is basically, oh, so the error here is the equal sign. It must be single. So sorry, my bad. Because I didn't check. Let's see if that's fixed. Oh, there's an error again, and mismatch the formal parameter. So if we look at our line 18, we can basically see that our um, error is between this line. So our error here is we do not put um, something what we call as arrow. So if you see this thing here, no issues found, it means that your lines here are completely correct. So let's see if there's an error pa. So if there's not, of course your program is basically correct. So build succeeded. Of course, our program is now successfully built. Now let's check or let's see what is this. So this is our main menu. Our main menu. So here is the choices that the user wants to choose. So first we have compute and display quotient and remainder of numbers. So next is find the greatest common divisor of two numbers. Check two given integers and return true if one of them is 30 or if their sum is 30, and if the user or he or she chooses exit, then the program will turn in. So let's check first letter A. If I choose A, of course it will go back again because well it is basically um uh how our program basically works, no? So this is the program that I've made. So let's pause it first. So basically, what our program is really want to enter is a letter, not a number. So basically, it's because here we just put case A, case B, and case C. We will not be entering any number. So sorry, my bad, I just entered letters here. So the user or he or she will enter a letter instead of a number. So let's run, let's check. So this is our main program or our main menu. And then if the user, for example, choose A, so here we will see that please enter your dividend and divisor. So if we put, for example, let's uh, think of a number, any number. So for example, we think of it 10, and then our divisor is 2. So we will get a quotient of 5 and remainder of 5, because 10 divided by 2 in mathematics, we all know that 10 divided by 2 will have a remainder of 5 and a quotient of 5 as well. So that is correct. So if next, if they enter, if the user uh, enter any button, types of button, it will basically terminate it. So let us run again and go back to the program. So if the user chooses letter B, find the greatest common divisor of two numbers. Let's say if the user choose uh, let's choose 4, and then the other one is 2. So basically what happens is, sorry, my bad, there's a lag, it's a bug. Letter B, and then letter two numbers, 3. So wait, let me fix it for a while. So basically, the error here is our program itself. So first, sorry, my bad. I just checked first the code. So let's enter letter B. So if we enter letter B, so for example, we enter 4, and then the next number is 2. Then our HCF, or our factor, is 2, because 4 and 2 are basically 4 divided by 2, which is basically their factor is 2. So next, the last program that we need to check is the check if two given integers and return true if that's if one of them is 30. So if we enter first number, let's say 10, and then the second value is 3, then it's 0 because that's not 30. It will become 1 if that value, if that variable is 30. So if that thing happens, then it will close. And then if the user basically doesn't like this function or these choices that we have in our menu, he or she can choose the exit, which is letter E, which is basically terminates the program as well. So basically this is our program, or this is my full program that I make. I basically check the errors, so apologize for my pauses. I basically check the um, errors here, especially the codes, and some of them are basically not kind of hard of error, but you just need to fix it by deleting or entering it or changing the variable. So this is my codes that we have, and here's the last, the bracket, which just terminates the program as well. So this is all my program regarding on C++, and regarding on the questions, um, compute the display quotient and remainder of two numbers, find the greatest common divisor, check two given integers, and return true if one of them is 30, and exit. So I hope you learned something from this video, from this program. And actually, or basically, this program is kind of hard if we don't know how to code as well. So just practice. So I hope you learned something from this video. Thank you, and God bless.